Hi everyone. Bernie is being a naughty girl and jumped on the couch, even though she knows she's not supposed to. So she's gonna be with us for a real out today. Everyone needs some extra love right now, so I'll let her stay up here, even though I probably shouldn't. Okay. You should be thinking about what happened last time we read. Remember, sometimes readers reread the previous parts if their movie in their head kind of gets a little fuzzy about what happened. I know you can't actually reread if you don't have the book with you, but you can rewatch the videos to think about what happened before and how that connects with what's going to happen now. It's a really great strategy that readers use. Bernie sounds like a little piggy. Okay, just trying to figure out where we are. I think maybe my turned down corner came unfolded, so give me a moment, sorry. Okay, here we go. Take your seats, everyone. Jack and I walked right behind a couple of sixth graders into the building and then followed them into the auditorium. Mrs. G was at the entrance, handing out the programs and telling kids where to go. Fifth graders, down the aisle to the left, she said. Sixth graders, go to the right. Everyone come in, come in. Good morning. Go to your staging areas. Fifth graders to the left. Sixth graders to the right. Don't lick the book, Bernie. Okay, sorry. I hope you're enjoying Bernie and that she's not too distracting for you. But we talk about her a lot in class, so I'm sure you're happy to see her. Okay. The auditorium was huge inside. Big, sparkly chandeliers, red velvet walls, rows and rows and rows of cushioned seats leading up to the giant stage. We walked down the wide aisle and followed the signs to the fifth grade staging area, which was in a big room to the left of the stage. Inside were 4 rows of folding chairs facing the front of the room, which is where Miss Rubin was standing, waving us in as soon as we walked in the room. Okay, kids, take your seats, she was saying, pointing to the rows of chairs. Don't forget, you're sitting alphabetically. Come on, everybody take your seats. Not too many kids had arrived yet, though, and the ones who had weren't listening to her. Me and Jack were sword fighting with our rolled-up programs. Hey, guys. It was Summer walking over to us. She was wearing a light pink dress and, I think, a little makeup. Wow, Summer, you look awesome, I told her, because she really did. Really? Thanks. You do too, Augie. Yeah, you look okay, Summer, said Jack, kind of matter-of-factly, and for the first time I realized that Jack had a crush on her. This is so exciting, isn't it, said Summer. Yeah, kind of, I said, nodding. I answered, nodding. Oh, man, look at this program, said Jack, scratching his forehead. We're going to be here all freaking day. I looked at my program. Headmaster's opening remarks, Dr. Harold Jansen. Middle school director's address, Mr. Lawrence Tushman. Light and day, middle school choir. 5th grade student commencement address, Eczema Chin. Pachelbel, canon in D, middle school chamber music ensemble. 6th grade student commencement address, Mark Antoniak, I think. Under pressure, middle school choir. Middle school dean's address, Miss Jennifer Rubin. Awards presentation, see back. Roll call of names. Here's what the program looks like. I know it's kind of fuzzy. Why do you think that, I asked. Because Mr. Jansen's speeches go on forever, said Jack. He's even worse than Tushman. My mom said she actually dozed off when he spoke last year, Summer added. What's the awards presentation, I asked. That's where they give medals to the biggest brainiacs, Jack answered, which could mean Charlotte and Eczema will win everything in the 5th grade, like they won everything in the 4th grade and in the 3rd grade. Not in the 2nd grade, I laughed. They didn't give those awards out in 2nd grade, he answered. Maybe you'll win it this year, I joked. Not unless they give awards for the most C's, he laughed. Everybody, take your seats, Miss Rubin started yelling louder now, like she was getting annoyed that nobody was listening. We have a lot to get through, so take your seats. Don't forget you're sitting in alphabetical order. A through G is the first row. H through N is the second row. O through Q is the third row. R through Z is the last row. Let's go, people. We should go sit down, said Summer, walking toward the front section. You guys are definitely coming over to my house after this, right? I called after her. Definitely, she said, taking her seat next to Eczema Chin. When did summer get so hot? Hot, Jack muttered in my ear. We've talked about that word. You know how I feel about that. We could use different words to describe people. Shut up, dude, I said, laughing as we headed toward the third row. Seriously, when did that happen? He whispered, taking the seat next to mine. Mr. Will, Miss Rubin shouted. Last time I checked, W came between R and Z, yes? Jack looked at her blankly. Dude, you're in the wrong row, I said. I am? And the face he made as he got up to leave, which was a mixture of looking completely confused and looking like he just played a joke on someone, totally cracked me up. Apparently, Bernie's not interested in the story. She's fallen asleep now. A simple thing. About an hour later, we were all seated in the giant auditorium, waiting for Mr. Tushman to give his middle school address. The auditorium was even bigger than I imagined it would be, bigger even than the one at Via's school. I looked around, and there must have been 1 million people in the audience. Okay, maybe not 1 million, but definitely a lot. Thank you, Headmaster Jansen, for those very kind words of introduction, said Mr. Tushman, standing behind the podium on the stage as he talked into the microphone. Welcome, my fellow teachers and members of the faculty. Welcome parents and grandparents, friends and honored guests, and most especially, welcome to my 5th and 6th grade students. Welcome to the Beecher Prep Middle School graduation ceremonies. Everyone applauded. Every year, continued Mr. Tushman, reading from his notes with his reading glasses way down on the tip of his nose, I am charged with writing 2 commencement addresses. One for the 5th and 6th grade graduation ceremony today, and one for the 7th and 8th grade ceremony that will take place tomorrow. And every year I say to myself, let me cut down on my work and write just one address that I can use for both situations. Seems like it shouldn't be such a hard thing to do, right? And yet, each year I still end up with 2 different speeches, no matter what my intentions, and I finally figured out why this year. It's not, as you might assume, simply because tomorrow I'll be talking to an older crowd with a middle school experience that is largely behind them, whereas your middle school experience is largely in front of you. No, I think it has to do more with this particular age that you are right now, this particular moment in your lives, that even after 20 years of being around students this age, still moves me. Because you're at the cusp, kids. You're at the edge between childhood and everything that comes after. You're in transition. We are all gathered here today, said Mr. Tushman, continued. We are all gathered here today, Mr. Tushman continued, taking off his glasses and using them to point at all of us in the audience. All of your families, friends, and teachers to celebrate not only your achievements of this past year, Beecher Middle Schoolers, but your endless possibilities. When you reflect on this past year, I want all of you to look at where you are now and where you've been. You've all gotten a little taller, a little stronger, a little smarter, I hope. Here, some people in the audience chuckled. But the best way to measure how you've grown isn't by inches or the number of laps you can now run around the track, or even your grade point average, though those things are important, to be sure. It's what you've done with your time, how you've chosen to spend your days, and whom you have touched this year. That, to me, is the greatest measure of success. Wise words. There's a wonderful line in a book by J.M. Barrie, and no, it's not Peter Pan, and I'm not going to ask you to clap if you believe in fairies. Here, everyone laughed again. But in another book by J.M. Barrie called The Little White Bird, he writes, he started flipping through a small book on the podium until he found the page he was looking for, and then he put on his reading glasses. Shall we make a new rule of life? Always to try to be a little kinder than is necessary? I'm going to read that again because I think you know that's a big line from Wonder that's pretty popular and that people talk about. Shall we make a new rule of life? Always to try to be a little kinder than is necessary? Here, Mr. Tushman looked up at the audience. Kinder than is necessary, he repeated. What a marvelous line, isn't it? Kinder than is necessary. Because it's not enough to be kind. One should be kinder than needed. Why I love that line, that concept, is that it reminds me that we carry with us as human beings not just the capacity to be kind, but the very choice of kindness. And what does that mean? How is that measured? You can't use a yardstick. It's like I was saying just before. It's not like measuring how much you've grown in a year. It's not exactly quantifiable, is it? Maybe you could look up that word and what it means, quantifiable. How do we know we've been kind? What is being kind anyway? He put on his reading glasses again and started flipping through another small book. There's another passage in a different book I'd like to share with you, he said, if you'll bear with me while I find it. Ah, here we go. In Under the Eye of the Clock, by Christopher Nolan, the main character is a young man who is facing some extraordinary challenges. There's this one part where someone helps him, a kid in his class. On the surface, it's a small gesture, but to this young man, whose name is Joseph, it's, well, if you'll permit me. He cleared his throat and read from the book. It was at moments such as these that Joseph recognized the face of God in human form. It glimmered in their kindness to him. It glowed in their keenness. It hinted in their caring. Indeed, it caressed in their gaze. He paused and took off his reading glasses again. It glimmered in their kindness to him, he repeated, smiling. Such a simple thing, kindness. Such a simple thing. A nice word of encouragement given when needed. An act of friendship. A passing smile. Bernie's making my arm fall asleep. He closed the book, put it down, and leaned forward on the podium. Children, what I want to impart to you today is an understanding of the value of that simple thing called kindness. And that's all I want to leave you with today. I know I'm kind of infamous for my, verbosity. Here, everyone laughed again. I guess he knew he was known for his long speeches. But what I want you, my students, to take away from your middle school experience, he continued, is the sure knowledge that in the future you make for yourselves, anything is possible. If every single person in this room made it a rule that wherever you are, whenever you can, you'll try to act a little kinder than is necessary, the world really will be a better place. And if you do this, if you act just a little kinder than is necessary, someone else, somewhere, someday, may recognize in you, in every single one of you, the face of God. He paused and shrugged. Or whatever politically correct spiritual representation of universal goodness you happen to believe in, he added quickly, smiling, which got a lot of laughs and loads of applause, especially from the back of the auditorium where the parents were sitting. Wow, I loved those chapters. So we only have 8 pages left. So I think I'll plan on finishing this tomorrow for you, hopefully, before our Zoom meeting. Maybe you could write a jot about how you think the book is going to end, and then later we will jot about what you think the life lesson of this book is. So what you think the author's trying to teach us through what Augie learns. So before I go, I'll share my affirmation. I want you to see what Bernie's doing right now. My affirmation is I am grateful and calm. I hope you can share your affirmations with your family. And here's a challenge. Maybe even write your affirmation down and post it on Seesaw so I can look at it. And maybe you could even write down one affirmation and one thing you're grateful for. So maybe try to write that down, post it on Seesaw, and I can comment on it. Okay, sending love to everyone.